I'll tell you about three. I was in a restaurant about 3 weeks ago, and there was this 8-year-old kid next to the table, and he had his arm in the sling. And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Oh, I was skateboarding and I broke my collarbone." And I says, "Boy, that's awful. Is it painful?" And he says, "Yeah, it's an 8 out of 10. I didn't even ask him what the pain level was, 8 out of 10. So I said, "Well, I have this wand, and sometimes it helps people relieve the pain. Do you want me to give it a try?" And he says, "Sure." So I wanted him for about 2 minutes, and I says, "How does it feel?" And he says, "I don't have any pain." And he yelled in the restaurant, "Mommy, I don't have any pain." Everybody looked over. But another time...
So, second story.
So a friend of mine told me about a guy, he's 69 years old, and he was in a helicopter crash 19 years ago. And he's a kind of a tough guy. He didn't like taking medications. But his knee, he lost his leg below the knee, and they sewed it back on. And it was so painful, he was going to get it cut off and put a prosthesis on. So I had to go and see him. So, because I'd seen so many results. So I went and talked to him, and his knee was like twice as large as normal and just throbbing. So I explained how it worked, that it possibly might give him some relief, and do you want me to give it a try? He says, "Sure, go ahead." So I wanted his knee for about 2.5 minutes, and he says, "You know what, the pain's gone." And he was ready to get up, and I said, "Just sit there for a minute." And I wanted him for another 8 minutes, and the swelling went back down to normal in front of, I was amazed more than anything. And he stood up, and there was no pain. He said, he's a tough guy. He says, "That's hocus pocus. How'd you do that?" And he didn't understand it, but nobody's a quantum physicist anyway, that I know. But he says, "I have to walk in Costco. It's a big store, and I can never get around there because it's just too big a store. Let me see." Anyway, 3 hours later, he called me. He says, "How do I get one of those wands?" And he hasn't. The swelling hasn't gone back up, and he's without pain in his knee, which is really fun.
Yeah, it was swollen for a long time.
It was swollen, like for a long time.
He was living with that for a while.
Oh, people live with pain.
Yeah.
They just live with it and say, well, because their doctors give them a pill and they don't want it. The amazing thing, 3 weeks ago, friends of mine had a family member that had open heart surgery, and they went in the next day. I get goosebumps every time I tell you this story, but they went in the next day to the recovery room, and the cardiologist was wanding his patient. And man, I just get goosebumps when I hear that, because that's how far it's gone in Vancouver in that short a time, and that it's now, the word's getting out, and it's kind of fun,
The cardiologist was
wanding his patient.
Amazing.
And